that's my calling, and I
You
reject
stand for.
anything that comes against it.
Yeah.
So this was now an attack on my marriage.
Yeah.
I was going to become a widow. I was watching myself in Bugeli movie. I was becoming a widow,
Yeah.
watching this man. I wonder if, I see you, I see the phone. I mean, I'd speak to my friend until morning. I couldn't sleep because I'm like, I'm dreading that call when they would say, he's normal.
Thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you had an awesome time interacting with the first part of this conversation, and the Mlombis were engaging with us, and allowing us into their lives, and certainly as a family. And we really want to pick up from where we left off. Do I welcome you back?
Welcome back, guys.
Welcome again. So, you are at this point, Belle. You are at this point where you are thinking maybe this is not worth it, altogether. And this is when you decide, you guys, you will go, to the Eastern Cape. And then, can you pick us up, from there as well?
Yeah, no, well, when all this happened, I mean, this difficult time I was going through, we're all going through as a family, but I guess you look at your struggles differently because you're experiencing them. So the only thing that made sense to me at that time was being away from Joburg. So that's what made sense to me, being away from Joburg. And remember, we were staying in that man's, and we were not supposed to be there. So there were evictions letters coming every month. So that also, I was like, I don't want to be here because I'm not wanted here. We're here by force, even though there are circumstances that led to that situation. So that's when I called my family and saying, look, I'm not coping. I've been to hospital twice, and I can't take this anymore. And I've got these bad thoughts that I don't like, and my wife and I are not in good terms, and I can't afford providing for my family.
Yeah.
And now that's the only thing I'm thinking of is to go home.
Yeah.
And yes, so that's when I went home. So I said, but I spoke to her about it. I didn't just
Pack your bags.
Yeah, I packed my bags. I said, I'm leaving. And when I spoke about it, I said, I need some time. And it's when I was away, I thought, maybe this is not working. This is, yes, it's worked for 15 years, but I'm feeling it's not working. There was too much pressure at that time, and too much pressure with noise, from the outside, and some advice that are not good, some are good, and some you could see, they said, no, if you leave here, maybe, I think you had a question about how it affected me at the church as a minister. And when those voices come and say, look, it's her fault that you're here. And then we start believing such things, It's a fault. You start believing. You start seeing things. And when I was not following here, then people started sending me, which is one of the reasons I had to change my number, screen grabs. Look what is she saying. Look what is she doing and all of that. And I thought, maybe our marriage has run its course.
Yeah.
And I so that's when I left. And the message I communicated, because she, like she's saying, she fought. She was like, no, we can't do that. I mean, one thing that I knew that my wife was fighting for our marriage is when she didn't have means, but she spoke to her friends and then she went home to fetch me. She said, let's work on this. And what hurts me the most is at that time I'd given up.
Wow.
Sure. I said to her, look, I've given up.
Wow.
And I would say I allowed because I think because our marriage was, I don't want to say perfect, that it was going so well.
Yeah.
It went to a point that I couldn't take it not going so well.
Yeah.
Because I've never been in a situation where my marriage was not going well.
Yeah.
So I couldn't take it that it was not going so well.
Yeah.
And for me, that's when I always say to her, I felt like I became a coward. I was like, no, I'm giving up on this. It's not working, I'm giving up. And I had the support of my family, and I thought, yeah, this is it, I'm giving up. That's it. As much as she was fighting and got to a point where she was like, look, I can't be fighting on my own.
And the children, are you not thinking of your children at
I
that
thought of them.
point?
Honestly, I thought of my kids. And
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I thought maybe it's best for them that I was at my lowest, that I was not a good
Yeah,
father.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
get you.
yeah,
So I thought for my kids, it's best if I'm not there.
yeah.
They will be better without me. Nandi will be better without me. The church will be better without me.
Imagine.
You know, my friends will be better without me. So I didn't see any. I felt like everyone around me will be better without me.
Got you.
So that's when I said to Nandi, okay, dude, I'm out. I've given up. I see what you've been doing. I see all your efforts, but yeah.
The eviction,
Yes.
because that also was a major issue. You know, even if you had blocked, you know, everything and you are inactive, you know, on social media, there is no way you are not going to hear from somebody saying your family is being evicted, and obviously all of us were beholden, and thanks to Nandi for recording, you know, the whole thing. And does that get to you?
It got to me.
Yeah, yeah.
I heard it the following day.
Okay.
Because my home is in the village, so network is a problem.
Yeah.
So those who live in the township, they came over, say, have you seen this?
Came all the way.
Yes, they came, not from Fort Beaufort.
Okay,
Yeah, no,
okay.
there's still township
Yeah.
in Fort Beaufort.
Yes.
They came. I was getting ready to go to a funeral that Saturday.
Sure.
They came and said, have you seen this? And then I looked at it, I thought, oh Lord, I did not thought it would go this far. Yes, I know we are living there. We are not supposed to be there, or we're told not to be there. But I thought to myself, I never thought it would get to this far.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm down and out.
Yeah.
And everyone knows that I'm down and out.
Yeah.
Especially when I'm away from my family, 10 hours away from my family. And I thought, Lord, okay, this can't be happening. And that's when I decided, okay, I might feel my marriage is over. I might have made that decision, but I'm going back. And for me, that was another hateful part. I even struggled to get money to come back. Because not all my family were agreeing with me to come back because they believed she might kill me. She's
You-
crazy. Because remember, they saw things on social media that I don't know.
Yes.
And I reached the point where I changed my number. I said, I don't want to be told what's on social media. So I didn't know why they were saying those things, but that's what they believed.
Yeah.
But by God's grace, you know, I managed to fundraise through people still from the same church that I serve, you know, through people that helped
Yeah,
me
yeah.
to fly back to Joburg, you know. Even though I knew there was nothing I'm going to do when I get to Joburg, but I wanted to be there for my family. And I think at that point, all these things that were going through my mind, all this thing about divorce, about leaving Nandi, just went out of the window.
Oh, wow.
Honestly, I think for me that was the moment. You know, if I was not born again, I would say that's the moment I accepted Christ. Because that's the moment I was like, okay, this is it. I'm going back to my wife. I'm going back to my children. I don't care how she's going to accept me. I don't care how my kids are going to accept me. And I know it's not going to be easy because you can't just up and leave and then expect everything is going to be normal.
Yeah.
But I said, I'm going back. And I flew back. And then I came back and I found my family like homeless.
You know, and I think, guys, this is such an emotional conversation. At that moment, I'm taken back to that video because there was a lot of backlash around you because, I also know that you probably did not see it at that time because you didn't have access, you know, and all of that. But I think a lot of people were kind of saying, where is Mlombi now? You know, and this is a moment that he should have been there, especially because your little girl was a major part of that video, and this is when they were saying, Mlombi, where is Mlombi? Mlombi should be here. Mlombi, even if we are evicted, but Mlombi should be with the family at this moment, and take this moment in with them. How did that make you feel? Those comments, Because eventually they ended up obviously getting to you at some point.
Yeah, no, I heard those comments. Even before I came. I think that's during that day, and then as I was trying to find means to come back, some of the people will speak to me and say, no, these are things that are being said. You can say you don't want to hear, but when people are bombarding you at that
Bombarding you,
moment, because at that
yes.
moment something is happening.
Yeah.
And that's when I sort of find humor in sort of it, because that's when I got shocked that people were thinking that I've got stroke or I'm in a wheelchair. So as they were sharing these
yes,
things,
there was that
they started saying, oh, by the way, do you know that people think that you have a stroke, you are in a wheelchair?
Yes.
So that was a humorous moment for me, because out of the sadness that was happening, because I didn't know there were such things going around.
You didn't know you had a stroke.
I didn't know. I didn't know I had a stroke.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Yes, I know that I had a problem with my leg. I sprained my ankle. I was using crutches, and it's so when someone showed me, I laughed when someone showed me that picture, because I was actually at the airport going home when that picture was taken.
There's someone who
There was-
actually shared
Yeah, there
Yes, we
was a
saw
picture
that.
of you in a
Yes,
wheelchair.
yes, and I said to her, and I still remember the face of the lady who spoke to me,
wow.
who said who knew who I was, and she was with her own children
At the airport?
At the airport. So for me, that was
my.
like, oh wow, if a mother of kids could do that to someone's child, taking a picture of you sitting in a wheelchair because you were tired, and then they had to push you instead of using your crutches going to a plane.
Yes.
So for me, that was the thing. So I only found out that time. So at least there was a moment for me to laugh when I was stressed. But yeah, I did get those comments. But what I knew, you see, for me, this is what I always say to people, even my colleagues, even in the church. One thing I will never do is to go on social media and explain myself. I will never do that. Or go on social media and say and disagree with Unandi. Well, some people want me to do that.
Yes.
I don't agree with what Unandi is saying.
Yes.
I'm not going to do that. I don't owe anyone that.
Yes.
So that's why when I heard those things, I thought, I'm not going to go and explain that, oh, by the way, we are separated now. Oh, by the way, I'm in the East, I'm 10 hours away. I'm in the Eastern Cape.
I'm not in the wheelchair.
I'm not in the wheelchair. I'm not in Joburg. That's why you don't see me on the pictures. Oh, I came back 2 days after. I wasn't going to go to social media and explain that. But it did hurt me, the fact that I was not there.
Of course.
Regardless of what we were going through in our marriage, the fact that I was not there when my kids, when my family needed me, it did affect me. That's why I wanted to come as soon as I can, to come and see what can I do as a father, what can I do, as a husband. Because even though we're separated, we're not divorced. We never divorced anyway.
Yeah.
But I needed to be there. Yes, when those comments, I saw them, I heard them, they did affect me, hurt me. But I knew one thing, that I'm going to make things right.
Yeah.
Because at that moment, that's when I said, you know what? The devil has no power over me.
Yeah.
This noise has no power over me.
Praise the Lord.
I'm going to work on my marriage.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to be the best husband, be the best father that I can. It's going to take time. We're still working on it, because it's not going to be one day just like that.
Yeah.
Still working on our marriage. And that's what I'm committed to right now and currently. And that's what matters to me. That's why even as we go through these difficulties, I haven't bothered the church to say, oh, when are you considering me? I'm like, I need to work on myself.
Gotcha.
I need to work on my family. Everything else God will put into place.
Yeah.
And
As
you
long
will.
as I'm in a good space, and I'm in a good space with my wife, with my children, and everything else will fall into place.
its place.
That's what I believe.
Yeah. And you want to?
No. I want us to go back a little bit. You said something to the effect that Unandi made a decision to come for you, which is amazing. What happened at that point? So does she tell you that I'm actually coming?
No.
Or
No,
she just
I
rocks
didn't
up?
even know. I didn't even know, because I remember the day she came in. She came at home, and then I was in town. So I was driving back with my aunt's boyfriend. And as we were driving, I didn't see the car. But I can tell you this, I think they were a kilometer away. But I said to him, I don't care, but those kids, they were just playing outside the yard. I said, those kids look like my children. And then he started laughing. He's like, kids, they are kids. I said, I can tell you, those are my kids. And I remember it up to this day. Because he kept saying to me, but you're going to reach home. I said, no, stop the car. I need to call them because I'm convinced those are my children. I haven't seen them in a long time,
Yeah.
but I know those are my kids. And I promise you, the moment I called them, they were like, that starter, I could hear them shouting. And they came running a kilometer to reach me, even though I was going home. But yeah, it was really lovely to see them. But coming back to your point, when Nandi made that decision, I was not even aware that she was coming. And I think one of the reasons, because I knew she couldn't afford going there.
Yeah.
I mean, I struggled to go home when I
Yeah.
decided to go home. But for me, it is unfortunate at that time because I was still clouded. And I need to be honest, she knows. I was still clouded, my judgment was clouded. I was still feeling, our marriage is not going to work. Even though she made those efforts, I was like, I don't think this is going to work. I don't know how she did. She does it.
Big
That
up
she's
to
still here.
her. Big up to her.
Honestly, I don't know how she did it or how she does
Yeah.
it. Because I always sometimes ask myself, if I was in her shoes, in a position, would I be able, to do all of that?
Yeah.
And with my reaction going home, I don't think I'll be able to do that.
Of course.
Yeah.
You know that's one part that people didn't know about you, the going back to you. And I think there's a lot that people miss when it comes to, sometimes they think what you show on social media is your whole self.
That's my,
And I'm sure there's a lot of people that didn't even know that you actually went back to fetch your husband.
No,
And that is so recommendable. I mean,
Yeah.
that is amazing.
And what is the time period between Nandi coming to fetch you and the day you decide, I'm raising money, I'm going back to Joburg, back to my family? What is the time period in between that?
The one who fetched.
I came back for a short period.
Oh, okay.
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 I came back for a short period, and then my grandfather passed away.
Yes.
And then I went back home,
Okay.
but I did not come back.
Oh,
So in
okay.
other words, I went away twice.
Got you.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
So she fetched me. I said no.
I went back again.
It was just, and then she
She
came
went
back
again?
to fetch me. I think that's when I decided to come home. That is to hand the children. And then we stayed. We tried to work on things, but things became harder. And my grandfather passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when he passed away, we were not in talking terms again. So I went home to bury him. And then I decided to stay again.
Yeah.
So the eviction happened at that time. That I went for a funeral, but I didn't come back.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah.
Guys, this is so heavy. I'm sorry that you guys had to go through that. I'm sorry that, your children also had to see some of the things that you guys went through. And I do know how passionate you both are, about your children and how protective, you are, around your children. But I do though want to drill a little bit on there's a point where, as you said, you came back, now you're coming back for the second time. And you did say earlier on you wanted to come back, but even money to come back was an issue, and you're speaking to family's like, hey, discouraging, you know? And then until you had to raise money elsewhere, and then you come back, and you said earlier, I knew what I was coming back to. I knew that I'm not coming back to any luxury. you know, so to speak, you know, I don't have work, income, you know, and all of that. And how is life now, having come back? Take us there, you know, when you came back and...
Well, she didn't even greet me when I came back.
She didn't greet.
Yeah, I tried to greet, but no, it didn't work out.
Yeah.
Well, I knew when I came back, to be honest, I always measure through my daughter because Lisa loves us both.
Yeah.
But when she's hurt or angry, she shows it. Or when she's disappointed, I think that's
You
the
can
word.
tell.
Yeah, you can tell. So even though she came to hug me, but that was not my Lisa.
I get
My
you.
daughter came to hug me. Yeah. Oh, other 5 kids, they came running.
Yeah.
They were holding me for dear life. Yeah. She came and hugged me, and I knew, okay, now it's starting.
Yeah.
And then I met my in-laws, and I was like, okay. Because also it was the same for them. Because remember, they had to come and look after her and the kids.
Yes.
And I thank God for them, because if it was not for them, I don't know how Nandi would have coped.
Yeah.
Because they had to come and help Nandi raise the kids. So when I came, and the reception was not good.
Yeah.
And then I asked, where's my wife? And then they were like, she's in that room. And then I went to the room, because at that time she had managed to get a place for the family.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with me because I was away.
Yeah.
But she had managed to get a place for the family. Then I came, and then I greeted, and then she just looked at me, and I thought, oh, Lord.
Here we go again.
Here we go again. But to be honest, on a serious note, I think it took us for about a month
Yeah.
for us to start having an open conversation, or a conversation. Because in that month, I also had to spend it with friends. Because it was difficult. We couldn't stand each other. And I understood, because I ran off.
Yeah.
Yes, I had my reasons.
Yeah.
And as a mother, she was like, I'm going to stick by my kids.
Yeah.
So me coming back then was difficult, because now they were used not having me around.
Yeah.
So it was difficult for us to communicate. And also having the in-laws was not easy, because they're also wondering, okay, when is he going to leave again? So that's when I said to my friends, look, guys, do you mind if I spend sometimes, some nights or some days with you whilst I'm working things with my wife? Because we needed to have a plan
Yeah.
Yeah.
of how we work. Because it's not a matter of just us talking. Who are we going to invite as the third person or a qualified person
Yeah, to
talk, talk us through this? Families. And our families have been very helpful. Her family, my family on my side, my uncle in Cape Town, because I had to involve him. I call him uncle, but he's the grandfather. But everyone at home, Mabeleni, we call him uncle.
Yeah.
So families had to start talking, and then Obele, Abanye Snabo, Ape Albertine, they were involved.
Yeah.
Because my father-in-law was like, look, we are also traditional. I mean, we might be saved, but we are closer. So you can't just come back and expect things to be normal. So families had to be involved in order for us to start creating an open space for us to talk, and also, to go through the processes of a counselor, therapist, and all of that.
Yeah.
So we had to go through that. But it took for about a month before we get to that place. So it was not easy. It was not just a matter of, like you say, me coming home now, tada, my husband is dead. Who is back? Give me a hug, a kiss. No,
Yeah.
it was difficult. Still difficult, not as difficult as it was before. Because now we've managed to find mechanisms in order to help us to be better husband, to be better wife, and father and mother. So we're still in that process. Cool. But at the beginning, I don't want to lie. It was like, okay. But for me, what I realized when I came back was that in those difficulties, I able to soldier on.
Yeah.
It's not like before where I was like, no, I can't take this. Now I'm like, I'm going to take it as it comes. Whatever punch comes, I deserve it. Whatever happens, I deserve it. But what I know for sure is that I want my wife back. I want my kids back. I want my marriage to work. And that's one thing that no one is ever going to take away from me now.
Yeah.
Including her.
Including her, please. But Nandi, what made you go for him, go back? Because I think that's what a lot of people never got to see, or that's a side of you, a softer side of you, I must say, that people really never got to see, sometimes social media only shows the strong,
Yeah.
unbreakable sort of side. Because I can tell you now, for you to actually say, you know what, I'm going to come for you, that's a softer side of Nandi that a lot of people are not exposed to. What made you make the decision to say, you know what, forget everything else, I'm going to go back for you?
I think I believe we've sikhulisene. We were young when we got married. I was 26, I was 22. In a marriage, you get to know someone, you learn, and you get to know their family, and then you understand, oh, this is why they do certain things. Oh, this is why. For me, one thing I don't know whether subconsciously or consciously made a decision that, okay, I come from a family with both mom and dad raising their kids. And my parents were raised by both their parents. Their parents were married. So I come from a lineage of marriage. I can track back who I am, who's my mom's mom, who's my... And with him, it's not total opposite, but almost opposite.
Yeah.
It's almost opposite. I don't think he could track both his parents back
Being
to
together.
back to great grandparents.
Got you.
And even with his own parents, his father's alive, but I don't think his people are interested to know, okay, do you know your great grandparents? I don't think you know, I don't know. It's an assumption, maybe you do. But for me, my thing has always been like, because he said when we got married, I don't want kids, I don't think I'd be a good father, because he's thinking he might be like his father. So for me, it was, you're not your father. You will never be your father as long as I'm married to you. As long as God entrusts me to be your support system.
Yeah.
And if that's the only one thing I'm going to get right, I may, excuse my friend, I might be a shitty wife in general, but that one thing I'm going to get right.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure you are nothing like your father. You are not your father. You are not going to be him.
Ooh. So history's not going to repeat itself.
History is not going to
Not
repeat
here.
itself, because if I let you
Yeah.
repeat that history,
Yeah.
then I've got 4 sons with you.
Oh, man.
Then that's a generational curse that I'm going to break. Even if it breaks me, I'm going to break that generation. I'm not going to have sons who don't know
Ooh.
imvelaphi yabo.
Nandi, please.
It ends with you.
Yeah.
So for me, I always say, as a person, lose yourself and then find yourself for a purpose greater than you.
That's powerful.
Find yourself for a purpose greater than you.
Yeah.
And for me, breaking that generational curse, where I'm not going to, even if it's a small thing, I'm not saying life won't happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. But for my kids, I want them to also pursue marriages and raise families. And they can say, it started with this couple, it can be traced back.
Yeah.
Our
Yeah.
great-grandchildren can look back and say, oh, there was this guy and there was this girl. And who gave birth to my father, my mother.
Yeah.
And here we are today. So I want something my kids should want to aspire to. I aspire to my parents'
Yes.
marriage.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been married for almost 40 years. So I aspired to that. And for him, he was raised by his grandmother and grandfather. So he was exposed to marriage. So it's not like we're talking of a foreign
Yes,
concept
yeah,
altogether.
yeah.
He knows. So it's like, at least ikona lantlans, we will.
Somewhere, yeah.
There's that. So for me, it's not even about me or how I feel. Sometimes I look at my kids, I'm like, there's 6 of them and there's 1 of me. Are my feelings really that important? Am I that important? I've lived life, I've enjoyed life. Am I going to deprive them of growing up in a healthy...
With their dad. Yeah.
And So for me, I think when it comes to family and kids, I become selfless.
Yeah.
I don't think about me, Uti. How do I feel? What makes me happy? It's like, is your happiness really more important than these 6 children's happiness?
So at that moment, the motivating factor for you were your children.
My children.
Yeah.
That I'm not gonna allow the enemy to then they become that statistic where one day they say, no, I don't want to get married because
Yeah.
marriage is, or I don't want to be a dad because
This is what
I'm going to be
marriage-
like my dad.
Yeah.
So now there's going to be this
Generational
curse,
Yeah.
you know.
Your parents at this point, and I like the fact that you were brought up by a mom and a dad who are still together even today,
Even today.
which obviously mean they've had such an influence in your life. What is their position, during the turmoil, when everything was happening and things were falling apart? What was your parents' position at that point?
So I called, well, my mom, she was with me before my dad joined us. She was with, even when we were evicted, she was there. My mom,
She was there.
My 69-year-old mom spent the night outside
Sure.
on the streets with me. So, sure, my mom is a strong woman. I think if you think I'm strong, then you haven't met my mom. Like,
So you took after after her?
I don't think I take after her, but she's my role model. I think a mom is every girl's role model.
your
actually.
first.
Your first role model before we idolize, celebrities and so forth. But our moms are like our role models, and when she saw that, because he was obviously not in a good space, and I always say, let's not. When we say in sickness and in health, I think we overlook mental health.
Yeah.
So sickness is, we will stick with sickness when he's coughing.
Yeah, the physical
No, that's
sickness.
okay.
Yeah.
But what happens when he sinks into a depression?
Sure.
Yeah.
He's sick. The decisions that he makes, for me, that's another contributing factor to say, let me go. I was like, I said in sickness and in health. He's sick.
And it was you acknowledging the fact that he's not
He's
not his normal self.
He's not his normal self. I've been with this guy. I always say I've had a honeymoon that lasted over 10 years. You understand?
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, oh, okay, now we're getting into a marriage. Honeymoon is over.
Yeah.
I guess that's the end of honeymoon. Now we get into marriage. And so I said, okay, I sign up for this in sickness and in health.
So Martin at that point, uti go fetch your life, or is she going? Maybe this is it, my child.
No, my mom, she was just like, you know what, I've never been through half of what you've been through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually don't have advice for you. All I can do is pray for you and just be there for you. And that's exactly what she did.
What she did, yeah.
She's like, I'm not going to tell you, go stay. I've never been sworn by a whole country calling you names and zangi. So I don't know what you're going through, and I don't even know how you're still standing.
Yes.
So all I can do is just pray and be here for you.
My
That's the best I can do. And she did just that, and I appreciate her for
yeah,
that.
because you're standing here today because of her
I'm
prayers.
standing here because of her prayers and her support. And then I remember saying to her, Mame, like, because we have a toddler
Yeah.
who's going under potty training. I'm like, andizokwazi potty train all the time. So call your husband to come and teach these boys to be boys. Because mna ndiyahlala toilet and he's going to think that's normal.
Yeah.
He's going to think it's normal. So
Yes,
please call your
yes.
husband to come father my kids.
So husband came all the way.
So the husband joined her, and I was like, okay, we're all your kids now, including me.
Hey, we have to pay. So with the first night, sorry to take you back. I know this is quite emotional. You said something just earlier to say your mom was there when it all happened, the eviction, and she spent the night outside.
Yeah.
That happens, Nandi. What do you do?
That happens, and then the minister who is there gets me arrested. So now she has to try and get me out of jail.
You got arrested?
Yeah.
Island when
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, so
Okay.
as we were being evicted, I go back to fetch my chargers and because my phone was charging. So I go back to it, and then when I come out, the gate is locked.
so you are locked inside.
I'm locked inside. So I get a sheriff to come and, oh, not a sheriff, sorry, a locksmith to come and open the lock so I can get out. And then I'm arrested for trespassing and what? Malicious damage to property.
Oh, to property, yes.
Yes.
So now they've forgotten the fact that you actually went to fetch stuff.
No, they haven't. It was just.
Why did they lock
I-
the gate?
I don't know.
So they take you in.
Yeah. So I went
And the
into
children?
a cell. So fortunately, the children, when that happened, I thought, okay, there's a congregant who's also a friend of mine who lives up the road. I said, please take the children, keep them there until, so at least Bona, they
They're
slept
safe.
over at a friend's house, yeah.
With mom.
No, Mama was there because the furniture was on the street. My sister was there as well. And then, so if we left the furniture,
It would have been gone.
it would have been gone. People were going to help themselves to it, so,
Oh my word, Nandi. I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh.
yeah.
You never shared this story.
No. I was too busy trying to keep my kids
Yeah.
and myself afloat.
Yeah.
So it just got to keep moving.
Oh my God.
I didn't have time to stop or to take anything in or to just. I was sort of on auto mode where I'm just like, just stay alive for today.
So you get arrested for how long?
So I get arrested, and then I think somehow my mom pleaded, and I think I came out around about 12:01 XN.
From a night before? Like
Yeah,
from
so
when?
I went in the night. So I spent a couple of hours in a holding cell. So and then she was pleading with them eventually. Bamzwela because umntwana, and then got bail. Lapho.
So is the case still ongoing or has that been concluded?
I had been going to court, and then they decided, Umfundisi that got me arrested, it was like, I'm not interested. One day when we attended court, he just said, no, he's not interested in the case.
As in not interested in what way?
I have
Is
no
he calling
idea.
it, is he Tuanicala Malchito?
I guess like because he's not interested.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Whew.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I don't think I was ready
Wow.
for this. To be
Wow.
honest, I don't think I was ready for this. And wow, you guys.
Yeah.
I don't think you guys understand how strong you are. This
She
is
strong.
no, she is.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand, the stuff that you've been through
Yeah.
in order for your family to stand. And I think one of the things that I always say, guys, marriage is not for everyone because
Yeah.
not everyone will succeed in this journey of marriage. It takes a certain type of people to be able to, because ukufanisa noThixo, guys,
Sure.
it won't be for everyone.
Yeah.
Because I mean, as you guys share your journey and what you have gone through, I'm literally seeing how similar it is to the journey of that Jesus went through, where he was crucified, where he went through hell, and this is exactly what I'm seeing in your guys' journey, and I think none of us knew, how deep, this has been for you.
Yeah. And so, with everything that has happened now, and since Pindi, first spoke to me about your social media, so I've kind of been there.
Akasalenza umuntu omubi.
Kind of been there.
It's your fault.
It's my fault.
So the Are there lessons from there, in terms of how, you manage, that part of your life? Are there some lessons? When I say lessons, I mean owing to what you guys have been through and the role, certainly according to Bele, that's been purported to have played, in terms of how things, were between the two of you, especially things that led to, I mean, you guys, everything happened at once,
Unfortunately.
with so many things. You can't say, no, it's social media, or no, it's the church.
Yeah.
No, you know what I mean? There's a whole
There's so
range
much.
of things, but, all each playing their part to a point that, you were talking about depression and breaking down and so on. But are there some lessons that you have drawn from social media in terms of how you manage, the social media space?
Definitely, sure. For me, one thing I can say is, as a leader,
Yeah.
I think for me, I've always looked at uba inkosi yemfundisi but like asiyonto yami yakhe.
Yeah.
You called and isingeni.
Yeah.
I'm here to be your support system. I'll support you however. But one thing I've learned is that we are leaders who are led by the sheep.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's one thing
Yeah.
I've learned. Ukuthi inkokheli ezikhona, you're given a flock by God to lead. You've been called to lead a flock.
Yeah.
But somehow the flock
Is leading you.
Is leading you. And
That's such an interesting
That's a very
way of
interesting-
looking at it.
yeah, and sorry. So you now you like you have this flock making a whole lot of noise, leading you different directions. It's not gonna work. It's a recipe for disaster. Now I know my stand as a leader. I don't get to be told by sheep. Ukuthi yeah, bakomvu izoxelela mina uba, oh no, this is the direction we should take. No, I've tested amadlelo. I know where the grass is green. So I'm
Yeah.
going to lead you. If you want to follow. If you don't, that's fine. It's okay, but I'm not going to be led by flock.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
not going to happen.
It's not supposed to be like that.
It's not supposed to be like that, but because I'm going to speak as why ungathi uphumelele? He always says ingathi unesiqwathile.
No, we can see the nose ring. So
Yeah.
So and I realized in our ministry, we're always trying to negotiate with the flock. We're trying to hear, where would you like to go? Idlelo eliphi? Why would you ask the flock? You are there to be the shepherd, to lead the flock to amadlelo alhlaza. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And so with the noise of social media, because remember, social media, these are people who are congregants. Even if they're not our congregants, they're congregants somewhere.
Yeah.
They're congregants somewhere. And they are expecting their leaders to follow them. Njani? And the leaders are actually like, nathi singabantu abafundisi bayithanda loo nto, ndingumntu nam. And then you listening to them tell you how to be. And no. And I'm like, no.
I'm
the
going to
shepherd.
lead.
I'm gonna lead. And if you as the flock, you should believe ukuthi inkokheli esinikwe nguThixo le, therefore uzasilidisha to where
the right
amadlelo are. So you have to trust uThixo ukuthi no, umbeke lapha uba asilidishe to the right place. So now I trust that my God, whatever convictions I have, God wants me to lead his people there. And so andizokwazi ukuphinde ndimamele izimvu zisithi meh.
Yeah.
Zonke meh at the same time. Meh uthi ujonga meh. It's just going to be too much. But as a leader, you have to discern. What is God saying? And so I think kuyo yonke lento I've learned to listen to God's voice. And shut out the mess.
The outside
The
noise.
noise.
Yeah. So you shut out that noise and you're like, God, what are you saying? Why is this happening to me? You are clearly trying to tell me something because none of this is normal.
No,
None of it is
abnormal.
normal. So all of this is happening. There's a reason. What are you trying to tell me?
Yeah.
And for me, it's like the problem is you leaders are being led by the flock. nijike izinto.
Yes, because I mean, the normal is you are the
Yes.
one who's supposed to be leading.
Absolutely,
you know?
absolutely. And people come to you because I remember as umfundisi now, like we have a Sinefoni Mlombi Foundation where if you need to talk as a couple, whatever, we get people like mna ndizoxela because ndihambile indlela. I've been almost divorced. So akho nto indothusayo ngomntu ozothi yo he's doing this. Like I'm like, oh, okay, when you're done throwing tantrums, let's talk.
Yeah.
Here's the reality. You're obviously hitting a reality. We have real talks with married couples. It's not about Cinderella, wamba, what dancer, and then left the slipper. You know, that's a fairy tale. We
Yeah.
all
Reality is different.
a reality is different, and who best is gonna tell you that has gone through the reality and has
Yeah.
gone through the reality with masses watching, with masses having opinions.
Sure.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We've been tested while masses were watching. We've been through almost everything normal couples go through.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? We've
Yeah.
been toxic. we've been through it all, and so we're able to have real conversations with real couples and say,
Yeah.
okay, if ufuna o Cinderella, then go to kindergarten. Bazoxelela ke fairy tale.
They're not
the happy
here.
ending, not here.
So where are things now for the Mlombis? That road hasn't been easy. And I truly believe there is a reason for that,
absolutely.
you know. And also I'm of a belief that God doesn't just put two people for vibes, you know.
No.
There's a reason. There is certainly a reason why God has put you guys together. And that reason is far bigger than yourselves.
Absolutely.
And one day, if you haven't, you will know why, you know, God has put you together. But it's not by mistake. So where are things now for you guys? Mr. Mlombi, Rev?
Well, to be honest, like I've said, we are working on our marriage, as I've said. And there's something I said, I think it was my third post. Okay, my first post on
Your
my
third
social-
post for the year?
For the year.
for the year. Because I only came back on social media about a month or two ago.
Okay.
I think the first one was just a picture of me standing, showing people that I'm alive.
And
Yeah,
standing.
and
I'm
not
not
in
on the wheelchair.
You're on a wheelchair.
That was which was intentional. The second one was a friend of mine, just out of the blue, sent me a picture of me when I was still young. You know, I was still slim and chiseled, and you know, with my six pack and all that.
The way Unandi found you.
Yes, and then I posted that. Then the third one, which is answering your question, where we are in this journey, I said, I've learned that one of the things that God has equipped us to do now, or made to do now, is turning my mess into a message.
Yes.
Because we've been through messy situations.
Yeah.
I mean, through difficulties, through things that I cannot explain sometimes. And some I can explain, which is why I said that to someone when they asked me, said, but you could have left that house. Why did you stay there? You know, why is your wife saying these things about the church? You know, why are you quiet and why are you this? And I said to them, you know what is so strange? What you're asking me is like someone would come to me when I'm sitting or standing, they stab me and then I bleed. And then they look at me and say, Bele, why are you bleeding? And I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
bleeding because you stabbed me.
Yeah.
Why are you asking me why I'm bleeding?
Yeah.
So there's a reason why I'm bleeding.
Yeah.
Because I was stabbed.
Yes.
There's a reason why these things are happening.
Yeah.
Because something happened.
Yeah.
Yes, I might not be at liberty to put it out there now because I'm still have a covenant with the church. You know,
Yeah.
covenantal relationship
Yeah.
with the church. But people need to know that you are bleeding for a reason.
Yeah.
But in spite of it all, with all this mess that has happened, we're going to turn it into a message. And we've grown out of it. It did not crush us. It did not kill us.
Yeah.
It did not defeat us. Yes, we went through the fire because even the Bible said that, you know, to be refined, you know, you have to go through the fire.
Yes.
And then what comes out of that it becomes something beautiful,
Yeah.
something awesome, something that you want to look at. So we are in that journey, and we've realized that journey. We're gonna share it with others. We're not gonna sit and not share it with others. We're gonna share it with others as we carry on, as we go along. That is why. We started the Mlombi. Okay, the Mlombi Foundation was there a long time, but that is why now we've got an energy to push it.
Yes.
Because there are things that we can do for others.
Yeah.
Because people have, in this journey, we might not maybe mentioned it a little, but there are people who journeyed with us, who helped us along the way.
Yeah.
Being family, being friends, being strangers, even strangers that you did not know, that journeyed with us, that helped us. So we also want to give back to the community. But we're doing that, saying to people, look guys, we're not perfect. We're working on our marriage. And, there are still things that maybe might happen along the way. And we're still trusting in God that is going to lead us to the right direction. That is why when people ask me, but why haven't you opened the Mlombi congregation? Or the Mlombi International
Yes.
Church?
Yes,
Of course, I get
yes.
lots of those questions. And I always say to them, when I'm still listening, until God tells me otherwise.
Correct.
Because remember, as much as I was not called to be a Methodist, I was called to be a child of God. I was called to spread the word of
Ministry,
God.
yes.
The ministry.
Yes.
But what the Methodist has done is to afford me that opportunity
Gotcha.
to spread the word of God. Which is why I'm still under the discipline of the Methodist, and I still respect,
good.
that discipline and those rules and so forth and so forth. But we are not standing in one position, definitely.
Yeah.
We're moving on as a family, in terms of growth. We're moving on as a family in terms of helping others, of teaching others, and in terms of loving one another.
Yeah.
And being an example to our own children
Yeah.
and loving our own children,
Yeah.
And that's the journey we are currently embarking on as the family. Yes, maybe for some people it might not be comfortable. It might be something that they were not expecting. Or maybe as we are in this journey, we're going to tend to be selfish sometimes because we're going to be focusing on one another and our children. And that might be the case, but just is a matter of knowing that we're moving forward.
Yeah.
We're not going to move backwards. We're not going to stand in one position, but we're going to move forward as the family, loving one another all the way.
And the children, obviously, part of this journey, first, I've always wondered about, when you get onto a plane and they give you all those safety, tips, and they always say, if you're carrying a child, don't rush to saving the child. Try and save yourself first, and then when you are safe, you can worry about. Obviously, with what you've just articulated now, in terms of focusing on healing, rebuilding, and really creating a healthy marriage first. And then obviously, the children, they will be part of that process. Because as you said, you came back when you hugged your eldest and you felt like, this is not my, so it means that there's work that needs to be done, there.
Yeah.
How far are they in the process? They themselves, or are you guys at this point still focused on yourselves? Where are the children?
Well, the kids we're still focusing on ourselves right now in terms of them, because we've spoken about them going to therapy as well.
Yes.
I know my wife is not a big fan on children going to therapy.
Oh, is she not?
Yes, she's not a big fan. But we've spoken about that, something we're speaking about.
Yeah.
But we felt if we work on ourselves and we show them love, it's the first step.
Got you.
Then, especially for my daughter, if she says, look, guys, I'm still not coping. I can see you together. I can still see you love each other, you love us, but I'm still not coping.
Yeah.
Definitely, because we don't want her to go back to hospital again. When they said it's anxiety.
She had an
Anxiety attack.
yeah.
We don't want that. Yes, she had an anxiety attack. We don't want that to happen again. That is why this is easier with her, because we can communicate.
Yeah, she's older.
Yes. With others also, we notice their patterns. Once we kind of feel, the patterns are not what ought to be, then that's when we take the next level with them of therapy also for them.
Wonderful. You don't believe in therapy for children? There's children's therapy. There are people who are specializing on that for kids.
I generally, therapy in general.
Okay.
Even for you.
Even
Yeah.
for me. Even for me. Look, I'm not saying people shouldn't go to therapy.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong, but personally, I find that we have this idea of healing, like stuff happened. No amount of therapy is going to take away my experiences. No amount of therapy or no amount of talking is going to change what happened. What happened, it happened. And for me, therapy, okay, I've attended therapy
Yeah.
before. So my experience, I don't know whether it was the therapist that I was seeing that put me off therapy, I don't know.
Possibly.
Possibly. And for me, I find that, so I'm sitting here and you are busy trying to unpack what I already know, I'm aware of. You want me to tell you my experiences and you're asking me how they made me feel. So for me, I'd rather, I know what I'm feeling. I will feel what I'm feeling. I will deal with my emotions. And I don't need to pay someone to tell me.
I see.
To tell you what you already
or
know.
I don't need to pay someone so I can tell them what happened to me.
Yeah.
So then I can listen to myself telling someone else.
I
Because they don't
see.
really give you advice on what to do, but it's you
They just
talking.
listen.
They just listen. So I'm like, if I have coffee with you and I want to offload, I'm going to offload.
Yeah.
I think for kids, though, how it's different, in my
Okay.
opinion, is sometimes they may not be open to you to tell you how they're feeling, and when they talk to a stranger,
they might
perhaps
open up.
they would be in a position to say, actually, when this happened, this is how it made me feel. Whereas with you, they might want to cushion it and like, hey, maybe I mustn't tell dad, how I feel, because maybe dad is not gonna like it or whatever,
I think with my kids, then that's the thing. They
They
very
are
talkative.
open.
Like, I mean, even with the eviction, like when you came back, I'm sure you
They were
remember.
explaining everything.
They were explaining everything. So like my kids, I'm
I
like,
remember there was one who was standing with you. Yeah.
yes. So they were like, the police were here and whatever, and like they talk about it. And
Well, they're raised by you. I'm sure they. I'm sure they're used to it. So don't bottle your feelings.
no, they talk about everything. So like, no, my kids. So I'm like, what's new? Everything. I mean, even my daughter, she will have drama at school. She'll come back. She knows where to vent. She will come to me. She'll tell me about it. Even the uncomfortable things like, oh, I saw a cute boy, and I'm like, how you looking at boys now? But my point is, even when it's uncomfortable, she'll still
You've
come
taught
to
them
me.
to be
So we-
open. Yeah.
So I guess that's why I'm like,
Yeah.
and then for me, I'm much better than a therapist because I would know how to deal. I've given birth to you. You have traits of me. So there's me that I'm dealing with in you as my child. So I'm like, this is the part of me I don't like. When they throw tantrums. So I guess that's why, but I'm not closed or saying no.
Yeah.
If I felt, now I feel like we don't have this under control
I
or
get
there's
you.
is more to whatever's going on, then by all means we would seek help.
No. I think I like the fact that you have not left them behind.
Yes.
In your journey of healing, you brought them along
Absolutely.
with you,
Absolutely.
which is absolutely commendable.
Because at the end of the day, as you were correctly saying earlier on, you were talking about generations and so on, and breaking cycles. At the end of the day, that's what we want to do.
Yes.
We want to ensure that we give our children the best possible opportunity for them to thrive, for them to grow up in a healthy way, as healthy way as possible.
Yes.
One thing as parents we don't want is for us to stand on their way.
Yes.
In whatever way, shape, or
Absolutely.
form. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I'm as Pini was saying, I'm very happy as well. That you guys, have embarked on the guys. You don't need us to tell you how strong of a couple you guys are.
Yeah.
I think that
So proud.
I think that you guys know that. I got to know you a little bit, as well. And, I'm so grateful to know you. I'm so privileged,
Yeah.
to know you and to for you to, open your lives, and I am part of that in the sense that, I know something that I didn't know, a number of things that I didn't know, about you beyond just the experiences. I'm just talking about your personality, the growth process. You guys are really, really, really great. And I really pray that God would strengthen you further, as you delight yourself in Him. The Bible says He gives you things to desire. He fulfills the desires of your heart, gives you things to desire, and uNkulunkulu engathi anganomeleza, uThixo anganomeleza nipha amandla, anibophe, ngebhanti lobunye, in your marriage, so your marriage could be not just strong for your kids, but for you.
Indeed.
At the end of the day, you guys matter. Your children matter, but you guys matter. First and foremost, this is about you. And the testimony that you guys have is a powerful one. And uThixo, may God give you voice. May God give you platforms for you to be able to tell that, testimony. And may, as a result of you telling that testimony, somebody somewhere get healed. Somebody somewhere who was going a certain direction, go, a different direction because they said, okay, I was going this direction. This was my turning point. I heard these guys, or I came into contact with these guys. And these guys, my marriage today is what it is, stronger, healthy, because of these guys. And with those words, we'd really want to thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for being open, and for hearing Mlombi's voice, which I'm sure everyone was dying to hear. But you guys are such an inspiration, and I think I echo your words. May God help you in your purpose. I still stand by the fact that I know that God has a higher purpose for you. And as you navigate and as you find that purpose, may God guide you and help you in that. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope you have enjoyed that episode as much as we did. What a lovely time we've had. And thank you once again for being with us and for watching and for subscribing and for being part of this family, which is love, marriage, and family.
And that is us for this week. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mlombis.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
We love the Mlombis. Thank you.
Thank you.